You know what's worthless in World War III? Your bank account. 3 days after the supply chain breaks, cash becomes recreational paper. Doesn't matter how much you saved. Doesn't matter if it's gold, Bitcoin, or that diversified portfolio your advisor swore was crisis-proof. None keeps you alive. Here's the reality. When there's no food on shelves, no electricity, no functioning economy, value shifts completely. From what we agreed has worth to what solves problems. You can't purify water with dollar bills. You can't treat infections with gold. You can't heat your home burning crypto seeds. Utility becomes the only currency. I'm giving you 11 specific products that become more valuable than any abstract wealth when everything breaks. Not random prepper items, strategically evaluated using 3 factors that determine actual survival value. Most people think they know what to stockpile for societal collapse. They've seen the movies. They've read the prepper blogs. They buy gold coins, expensive freeze-dried meals in buckets, solar-powered phone chargers, tactical flashlights with 17 modes. They feel prepared. They feel smart. They're hoarding the wrong things. Here's what actually happens when supply chains break. The average supermarket operates on a just-in-time inventory system. 3 days of food on the shelves. That's it. When the trucks stop rolling, when distribution networks collapse, you have 72 hours before every grocery store in your city is picked clean. After that, it doesn't matter how much cash you saved or how shiny your gold bars are. There's nothing left to buy. So the question changes. Not what has value in a functioning economy. What has value when the economy stops functioning? What keeps you alive when the abstraction of currency becomes meaningless and survival becomes concrete? We need a framework, a way to evaluate what actually matters. I call it the 3-factor value test. Factor 1, immediate utility. Does this item solve a life or death problem right now? Not eventually. Not theoretically. Right now. Water purification solves the problem of contaminated water sources. Antibiotics solve the problem of bacterial infection. Fire-starting materials solve the problem of hypothermia and raw food. These have immediate utility. Compare that to gold. Beautiful. Historically valuable. Completely useless for solving any biological necessity. You can't drink it. You can't eat it. You can't burn it for warmth. Zero immediate utility. Factor 2, trade universality. Will everyone want this, or just some people? In a collapse scenario, trade becomes the foundation of any emerging economy, but not all items have universal appeal. Fishing gear is valuable if you live near water and know how to fish. Worthless if you're landlocked or skillless. Antibiotics? Everyone needs those. Water purification? Universal demand. The more universally needed an item is, the higher its trade value. Factor 3, durability. Does it expire? Does it break? Does it require electricity or fuel to function? A hand-crank water filter works for years without power. Bleach degrades in 6 to 12 months. Batteries die. Electronics require charging infrastructure that won't exist. Durability determines whether your stockpile is an asset or a ticking clock. These 11 products pass all 3 factors: high immediate utility, universal trade appeal, long-term durability. That's not opinion. That's physics, biology, and human desperation. Now let me show you how we ranked them. Let's talk about trade, because in a collapsed economy, trade isn't optional. It's the difference between surviving and thriving. Factor 2 is trade universality. Will everyone want this item, or just some people? This matters more than most preppers realize. You might have the best fishing rod ever manufactured, thousands of dollars of gear, expert knowledge. If you're in landlocked Kansas surrounded by people who've never held a rod, that gear is worthless. Your expertise doesn't translate. Your investment doesn't matter. Compare that to water purification tablets. Everyone drinks water. Everyone needs clean water. Doesn't matter if you're in the desert, the mountains, or the suburbs. Doesn't matter your age, your skills, your background. Water is universal. That's what we're looking for. Items with demand that crosses every demographic, every geography, every skill level. Think about it from the other side. You need food. Your neighbor has fishing gear and wants to trade. You live 200 miles from the nearest lake. Do you accept, or do you hold out for something you can actually use? Trade value only exists when both parties want what's being offered. Universal demand creates universal trade value. Factor 3. Durability. How long does this item remain functional? Canned food lasts years. Fresh vegetables last days. Matches get wet and become useless. Lighters run out of fuel. Electronics require electricity that won't exist. But a hand crank water filter works for 100,000 gallons. A ferro rod for fire starting? 10,000 strikes. These items don't degrade, they don't expire. They maintain their utility regardless of time or conditions. Here's why this matters. In the first week of a collapse, everything has value because people are still thinking in terms of the old economy. By month 2, people learn. They stop trading for luxury items. They stop accepting things that break or expire. They only want items that solve immediate problems and keep solving them. Now, the ranking. Items 11 through 1 scored on all 3 factors. Immediate utility, trade universality, durability. Lower numbers mean higher aggregate scores. Item 11 is good. Item 1 is essential. But here's the thing. Even item 11 on this list is more valuable than 95% of what people currently stockpile. Because these 11 passed the test. Everything else failed. Let's start at 11 and work our way to the top. Number 11. Hand crank emergency radio. Most people overlook this. They think information becomes worthless when society collapses. They're wrong. Information becomes critical. When the grid goes down, you need to know what's happening beyond your immediate area. Are relief efforts coming? Which roads are blocked? Where are the danger zones? A hand crank radio gives you access to emergency broadcasts, weather alerts, coordination information. It doesn't require batteries, doesn't require electricity, just physical effort. The trade value is real. Someone with a working radio becomes the neighborhood information hub. People come to you. People owe you. The catch is obvious. Limited range. Dependent on broadcast infrastructure that might not survive. If every tower goes dark, you've got an expensive paperweight. Score B+. Number 10. Manual can opener. Sounds too simple to matter. It matters. The average American home has 30 to 50 canned goods sitting in the pantry right now. Beans, soup, vegetables, fruit, meat. Thousands of calories. Most people access those cans with electric can openers or pop-top lids. When the power dies, when the pop-top supply runs out, suddenly everyone's staring at food they can't access. A manual can opener solves this immediately. Better yet, a quality multi-tool with a can opener plus knife, screwdriver, pliers. Multiple utilities in one package. Trade value is moderate. Everyone needs to open cans eventually. Not everyone thinks about it until they're standing in their kitchen holding a can of beans and no way to open it. The catch is fragility. Single-purpose tools can break, get lost, become unavailable. You need backups. Score B+. Number 9. Duct tape, the universal repair material. Duct tape fixes torn tarps, broken tools, damaged clothing, leaking containers, improvised shelters. It reinforces weak points. It creates makeshift solutions. The applications are effectively infinite. In a world where you can't just buy a replacement for everything that breaks, repair materials become invaluable. Duct tape specifically because it adheres to almost anything, works in most conditions, and requires zero skill to use. The trade universality is excellent. Everyone breaks things. Everyone needs temporary fixes. Everyone recognizes the value. The catch is supply. Duct tape is finite. Each roll eventually runs out. You can't manufacture more without industrial infrastructure. Score B+, 3 items down. Now we move into territory where products don't just help, they keep you alive. Number 8. Lighter fluid and fire-starting materials. Fire is survival. Fire boils water, making it safe to drink. Fire cooks food, killing parasites and bacteria. Fire provides heat in cold climates. Without fire, you're reverting to raw food and contaminated water. That's dysentery and death within weeks. Lighter fluid outlasts matches by months. Outlasts disposable lighters by even more. Combined with a ferro rod or magnesium fire starter, you've got thousands of reliable fire-starting opportunities. No moisture sensitivity like matches. No fuel dependency like lighters. The trade value is universal. Everyone needs fire. Doesn't matter your location or skill level, the catch is storage danger. Lighter fluid is flammable. Improper storage creates fire hazards, but the utility outweighs the risk. Score A-. Number 7. Bleach for water purification. Here's a statistic that should scare you. More people die from waterborne illness in disaster scenarios than from violence. Cholera, dysentery, typhoid, all preventable with clean water. Bleach purifies water. 8 drops of unscented bleach per gallon kills bacteria, viruses, parasites. 1 bottle of bleach can purify thousands of gallons. That's months of safe drinking water from a $5 bottle. The trade value is maximum. Parents will trade anything to stop their children from dying of dehydration and diarrhea. Anyone with a contaminated water source needs this. The catch is degradation. Bleach loses potency over time. 6 to 12 months in storage, effectiveness drops significantly. You need to rotate stock. You need to understand proper ratios. Too little does nothing. Too much poisons you. Score A-. Number 6. Heirloom seeds. Every other item on this list is consumable. Use it, it's gone. Seeds are different. Seeds multiply. Plant 1 seed, harvest dozens or hundreds more. That's renewable food production. That's the only path to long-term food security that doesn't require constant external supply. Heirloom seeds specifically because they breed true. You can save seeds from your harvest and plant them next year. GMO seeds don't reliably reproduce. You're dependent on buying new seeds every season. The strategic value is enormous. Everyone needs food. Seeds provide food that regenerates. The catch is knowledge, time, and climate. If you don't know how to grow food, seeds are just potential. If you're in the wrong climate for those crops, they fail. If you don't have months to wait for harvest, they don't solve immediate hunger. Score A-. Seeds give you future food. But the next tier gives you immediate survival. We're entering territory where having these items means living. Not having them often means dying. Number 5. Antibiotics. Before modern medicine, the leading cause of death wasn't war or famine. It was infection. A cut on your hand becomes infected. Without treatment, that infection spreads to your bloodstream. Sepsis sets in. You die, simple as that. In the pre-antibiotic era, mortality from common bacterial infections ran 30 to 50%. Think about that. A dental abscess, a deep scratch, a urinary tract infection. 50-50 chance of death. Antibiotics change that equation completely. Amoxicillin, doxycycline, ciprofloxacin. These medications stop bacterial infections before they become lethal. And here's what matters in a collapse scenario. When someone's child is dying from pneumonia, when your spouse has sepsis from an infected wound, people will trade everything they own for antibiotics. Everything. Food, water, tools, shelter. Because nothing else matters if you're watching someone die from something preventable. The catch is threefold. Antibiotics require knowledge to use correctly. Wrong antibiotic for the wrong infection does nothing. Wrong dosage creates resistance. And they expire. though many remain effective years past their printed dates. Also, acquiring them now exists in a legal gray area. Fish antibiotics are the same compounds, sold without prescription. Research required. Score A. Number 4. Manual water filtration systems. Bleach degrades. Boiling requires fuel. Manual filters work indefinitely. A quality ceramic or hollow fiber filter like Sawyer or Life Straw filters 100,000 gallons before needing replacement. That's decades of clean water for a family. No chemicals required, no power required. Just physical filtration removing bacteria, protozoa, and particulates. The durability factor makes this critical. While others are running out of purification tablets or rationing bleach, you're still producing clean water. The trade value is permanent. Water is the most fundamental human need after air. 3 days without water, you're dead. Everyone understands this. Everyone needs this. The catch is freezing. If water inside the filter freezes, it can crack the filtration membrane, rendering it useless. You need backup units. You need to prevent freezing. But that's manageable compared to the alternative of contaminated water. Score A. 2 items that solve the most fundamental survival problems: water and infection. But here's where most preppers get it wrong. I know what you're thinking. Where's gold? Where's silver? Why aren't precious metals on this list? Fair question. Let me explain why gold doesn't make the top 11. Gold has zero immediate utility. You cannot eat it. You cannot drink it. You cannot use it to purify water, start fire, treat infection, or solve any biological necessity. In the first weeks or months of a collapse, when people are desperate for items that keep them alive, gold is irrelevant. Try trading a gold coin for antibiotics when someone's child is dying. They'll laugh at you and keep the antibiotics. But here's the nuance. Gold and silver have historical precedent as stores of value. Eventually, maybe 6 months in, maybe a year, when the initial chaos stabilizes and a new economy begins to emerge, precious metals might regain trade value. Emphasis on might. That depends entirely on whether enough people still believe in their abstract value. If everyone around you needs food and water, your gold means nothing. If a new economic system forms and adopts precious metals as currency, then yes, value returns. The problem is timing and context. In immediate survival scenarios, utility beats precious metals every single time. Someone with a water filter has more trade power than someone with gold bars, because the person with the filter solves a problem everyone faces every single day. The person with gold is hoping people remember the old system's values. This principle applies to everything. You can't trade what you can't afford to give up. You can't store abstract value when concrete needs aren't met. Utility first, luxury later? Maybe. Now that we've cleared that up, let's talk about the Holy Trinity, the 3 items that form the foundation of post-collapse survival. Number 3. Salt. Human beings need salt to survive. It's not optional. Sodium regulates fluid balance, nerve function, muscle contraction. Without adequate salt intake, you die. But salt's value goes far beyond biological necessity. Salt preserves food. Before refrigeration, salt was the only reliable method of preventing meat and vegetables from rotting. That's why Roman soldiers were partially paid in salt. The word salary comes from sal, Latin for salt. In a collapse scenario, salt becomes currency. Everyone needs it biologically. Everyone needs it for food preservation. Shelf life is infinite if kept dry. Trade universality is maximum. People have fought wars over salt deposits. Score A+. Number 2. Basic medications: pain, fever, diarrhea, allergies. These conditions don't kill you in a functioning society with modern medicine. In a collapse, they reduce your survival capacity by 50% or more. Try chopping firewood with a migraine. Try defending your home with severe diarrhea. Try growing food with untreated seasonal allergies, making you miserable. Ibuprofen, acetaminophen, loperamide, diphenhydramine. These over-the-counter medications maintain quality of life, which directly translates to survival capability. The trade value is extraordinary. Parents will give anything for children's fever reducers. Anyone experiencing severe pain becomes desperate. Anyone with diarrhea losing fluids understands the stakes. Score A+. Number 1. Fuel. Propane, kerosene, stabilized gasoline. Fuel is stored energy. Energy powers civilization. With fuel, you run generators providing electricity. You power vehicles for transportation. You heat homes in winter. You cook food safely. Fuel is the multiplier that makes every other modern tool functional. Without fuel, you revert to pre-industrial capacity. With fuel, you maintain some version of modern life. That's the difference between surviving and thriving, between subsistence and productivity. The catch is danger and volatility. Fuel requires proper storage, but the utility is worth the risk. Score A+. 3 items. Maximum utility, universal demand, long-term value. Now let's talk about what you do with this information. 11 products ranked by survival utility. 3 factors determining value: immediate utility, trade universality, durability. But here's what matters. A list is just information. Information without action is entertainment. So here's what you do. First, assess what you currently have. Most people own fewer than 3 items on this list in meaningful quantities. Be honest about your gaps. Second, prioritize acquisition. Work backward from number 1. Fuel, medications, salt. Then antibiotics and water filters. Then fire-starting materials and seeds. The lower numbers first because they have the highest aggregate value. Third, don't hoard. Strategic quantities matter. 3 to 6 months of consumables, multiple backup units for tools. Hoarding creates security risks and draws attention. Fourth, learn to use everything before you need it. Having antibiotics without knowing which treats which infection means dying with a full medicine cabinet. Having seeds without knowing how to grow food means starving with packets in your hand. Fifth, diversify storage locations. Don't keep everything in one place. House burns down, gets looted, gets flooded. Distributed storage means distributed risk. But here's the critical point. Having these products without skills means dying with stuff. You need knowledge, water purification methods, basic first aid, fire starting, food preservation, repair techniques. Skills multiply the value of supplies, and timing matters. By the time WW3 is obvious to everyone, stores are already empty. Prices have already spiked. Supply chains have already broken. The people who survive position themselves before the crisis, not during it. They acquire supplies while everyone else is distracted. They learn skills while everyone else is comfortable. They prepare when preparation seems paranoid. Because when the collapse comes, and history suggests it eventually does, you won't be scrambling. You'll be ready. 11 products, 3 factors, 1 choice. Prepare now.